I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to be. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of whom you might choose, because your means audio program has complete and available for all of listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I've wanted. This is something I've wanted to happen. This is something I wanted to see happen. Never since I see happen. Never since I first heard. This is something I wanted with others. This is something I've been wanting to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer's. This is something I want to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell he's gathered the one-man manager together. Before we wrote on the book, the manager together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. Who moved my cheese? I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled before we wrote. And ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell us his story years ago before we wrote a book, A Month Manager Together. I remember thinking then how good the story and how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. And how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. Who moved my cheese? I'm thrilled to be telling you. This is something lovable because it means audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first. This is something I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be by Dr. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story. Who moved my cheese? I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of who moved my cheese. I'm thrilled to telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of who moved my cheese, because it means the audio programs is complete and available. Because is complete behind the story of who moved my cheese. Because it means the audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. And share with others. Complete and is available. The audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. I'm thrilled to be telling you. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of who moved my cheese, because it means your program is complete and available for all of us listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell us great cheese story. This is something I want to see happen ever since I first. This is something I wanted to. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first. Never since. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first heard this is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer John's Terrace story years ago before we wrote our book, The Woman Manager Together. I remember thinking that years ago, Spencer John's Terrace story years ago before we wrote our book, The Woman Manager Together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. Years ago, I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of Who Moved My Cheese. Because it means the audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson Terrace story years ago before we wrote on the book The Woman Manager Together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to me from that moment. This is something to enjoy and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen to ever since I first just. This is some. Ever since. This is something I've wanted Spencer John's Terrace story years ago before we wrote on the book The Woman Manager Together. I remember thinking that years ago, Spencer John's Terrace story years ago before we wrote on the book The Woman Manager Together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to be from that moment on. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of Who Moved My Cheese because it means the book has now been written and it's available for all of us to read. I'm thrilled telling the story behind the story of Who Moved My Cheese because it means the audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I've wanted to happen before. This is something I've wanted to see happen. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first. This is enjoy and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard tertiary years ago, before we wrote on the book The Woman Manager Together. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson Terrace story years ago before we wrote our book The 1 minute manager together. and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen. This is something I've wanted to see happen. I wanted to see happen. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson. And share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first I've wanted to see. This is something I wanted to see happens ever since I. This is something I've wanted to see happens ever since I first. This is something I've wanted to see This is something enjoy and share with others. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell Scratch his story years ago before we wrote on the book 1 Minute Manager together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. The Story Behind the Story by Kenneth Blanchard, by Dr. Spencer Johnson. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of Who Moved My Cheese. I'm thrilled to be telling the story behind the story of Who Moved My Cheese, because it means the audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell Scratchy's story years ago. Enjoy and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson. This is something I want Spencer Johnson tell Scratchy's story years ago. This is something I've wanted to see share with others. Enjoy and share with others. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson. I first heard Spencer Johnson. I want to see him. I want to see hope. I want to see hope. I want to see hope. This is something I want. This is something I've wanted to enjoy and share with others. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard. Ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson. Ever since I first Spencer Johnson. This is something I want to see happen ever since. Who Moved My Cheese? An amazing award with changing the world and your life, by Dr. Spencer Johnson. Who Moved My Cheese? An amazing way to deal with cheese. Change your world and in your life. Amazing way to deal. An amazing way to deal with. An amazing way to deal with change in your life and in your life, by Dr. Spencer Johnson. Amazing way to deal with an amazing way to deal with change in your work, and in your life. Giamba, introduced by Dr. Kenneth Brancher. I'm thrilled to be telling you the story behind the story of Whom I Cheat, because it means the audio program is complete and is available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I wanted to see happen ever since This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson. This is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first. This is something I've wanted to see available for all of us to listen to, enjoy, and share with others. To listen to, enjoy, and share with others. This is something I want to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell his great true story years ago before you wrote on the book The Woman Manager Together. This is something I've want years ago before we wrote on the book The Woman's Manager Together. I remember thinking then, this is something I've wanted to see happen ever since I first heard Spencer Johnson tell his great true story years ago before we wrote on the book The Woman's Manager Together. I remember thinking then how good the story was and how helpful it would be to me from that moment on. Who Moved My Cheese is a story about change that takes place on maze, where four amusing characters look for cheese. Cheese being a metaphor for what you want to have in life, whether it's job, a relationship, money, a big house, freedom, health, recognition, spiritual peace, or even activity like jogging or golf. Each of us learn a dear what cheese is, and pursue it. We pursue it because we believe it makes it happy. If you get it, you often become attached to it, and if you lose it or it's taken away, it can be traumatic. The maze of the story represent where you spend time looking for what you want. It can be the organization you work in, the community you live in, or the relationships you have in your life. I tell the story you are about to listen to in my talks around the world, and often learn later for people about what difference it has made to them. Believe it or not, this little story has been credited with saving. Believe it or not, this little story has been credited with saving career, marriages, and lives. One of many real-life examples comes from Charlie John, a well-respected broadcaster for NBC TV, who revealed hearing the story of Who Might She saved his career. His job as a broadcaster is unique, but the principle he learned can be useful by anyone. Here's what happened. Charlie works hard and does a great job of broadcaster tracking field events. Tracking field events and in early European games. So he surprisingly upset when his boss told them he removed from the showcase for events for next Olympic, and it was an assignment to swimming and diving. Not knowing this bird as well, he was frustrated. He was frustrated. Not knowing this bird as well, he was not knowing this bird as well, he was not knowing this bird as he was well, he was frustrated. She felt unappreciated and became angry. He said he felt it wasn't fair. His anger began to affect everything he did. Then he heard the story of who my tree. After that, he said he laughed to himself. After that, he said he laughed to himself. He changed his attitude. He realized his boss He realized his boss is just moved his cheese, so he adapting. He learned two newspapers, and in process found that doing something new made him feeling young. It wasn't long before his boss recognized his new attitude and energy, and he soon got better assignment. And he went on to enjoy more success than ever. He was later inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, broadcaster Ali. That's just one of the real life story I've heard, but the impact this story have had on people, from their work life to their love life. I'm such a strong believer in the power of Whom I Choose that I gave a copy, only pre-publication edition, to everyone. More than 200 people working with our company. Why? Because like every company that wants not only to survive in the future, but stay competitive. But stay competitive. But stay competitive. Every company wants not only survive the future, but stay competitive. The combination company are constantly changing. They keep moving our cheese, while the pair is made one of a loyal employee. Today we need flexible people who are not possessive about the way things are done around here. And yet you should know, living a constant white water with the changes occurring all the time at work or life can be stressful unless people have a way looking for a change that helps them understand. And to the cheese story. When I told people about story and then get them a copy, you could almost feel this negative energy beginning to occur. Person after person from every department in a way thanked me or told me how helpful Whom I Choose had been to them already in seeing the change going on in the company in a different life. Believe me, this brief parable takes on labor in the different life. Whom I choose had emptied already. Whom I choose had been to them already. It seems the change are going on in the company in different line. Believe me, this brief parable takes only a little time to listen to, but its impact can be profound. As you listen, you'll hear three sections in this program. In the first, the gathering, former classmates talks around the class reunion, but about trying to deal with the change happening in their lives. The second section is the story of Whom I Choose, the core of this program. In the third section of discussion, People discuss what your story meant to them and how you're going to use their work to end you in the line. Some listeners to this program prefer to start the end the story without listening further and interpreting the meanings themselves. Others enjoy listening to the discussion that follow because it stimulates deep thinking about how they might apply with their learning situation. In any case, I hope each time you listen who moved my cheese, you'll find something new and useful in it, as I do, and it will help you deal with the change and bring you success, whatever you decide success is for you. I hope you enjoy what you discover, and I wish you well. Remember, move with the cheese.